My name is Clarence, and I am 81 years old. I'm sitting here in my kitchen in Birmingham, Alabama, and the silence in this house is so heavy that I feel as if I could touch it. Sometimes I find myself staring at my hands. They are old now, full of age spots and with knuckles swollen from so many years of hard work in the heat of the steel mills. But it isn't my age that hurts me today. What hurts is a piece of paper lying right here in front of me, on top of the Formica table. It is my latest bank statement. If you looked at the numbers written there, you would say that I am a successful man. You would say that I made it in life, that I am the example of what hard work and discipline can do for a black man who started with nothing in the 1950s. But the truth, the naked and raw truth that I can only admit now that the sun is setting for me, is that all that money is nothing but ashes. I spent my entire life saving for a tomorrow that never arrived the way I planned. And in doing so, I threw my today in the trash, day after day, for 60 years. I was born in 1943. My father worked on the railroad, and my mother washed clothes for white families from the uptown part of the city. We had nothing. I remember seeing my mother counting pennies just to buy a piece of pork fat to cook the beans. Scarcity was not just a condition. It was a smell that clung to our house. It was the smell of cheap soap and fear, the fear of being evicted, the fear of getting sick and not being able to pay a doctor who would even agree to see us, the fear that the food would run out before Friday. I grew up with that fear driven into my spine like a rusty nail. I promised myself when I was still a 10-year-old boy that I would never go through that I would have security, that I would have money saved. In 1961, I got a job at the Birmingham Iron and Steel plant. It was brutal work. The heat in there was like being inside the jaws of hell itself. But the pay was good for a young man like me. Back then, segregation still dictated where we could walk and where we could sit. But the money in my pocket weighed the same as anyone else's, even if not every place would accept it. That was when I met Ruby. She was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. We met at a charity dinner at the 16th Street Baptist Church. She wore a yellow dress that looked like it had been sewn from rays of sunlight. Ruby was life. She loved to laugh, loved music, loved people. And me? I was the serious man with a little notebook in my shirt pocket, where I wrote down every cent I spent on bus fares and soda bottles. We got married in 1964. I remember that on our wedding night, instead of talking about our dreams or our love, I sat Ruby on the edge of the bed and showed her our first savings passbook. "Ruby," I said, "we're going to be careful. We're not going to waste money on foolish things. Every dollar that comes in, we're going to save a part of it. That's how we're going to build something real." She smiled at me with that sweetness only she had and said, "Clarence, my love, it's good to have a roof, but don't forget to look out the window once in a while." I didn't listen. I was too busy sealing every crack so not a single penny could escape. For the next 40 years, my routine was the same. I worked double shifts whenever I could. If someone missed a day at the plant, I was there to cover. Christmas, Thanksgiving, sunny Sundays. I was there surrounded by sparks and the deafening noise of machines. I remember one time, in 1975, when Ruby wanted to take the children, we had 2 boys back then, Marcus and little Clarence, to visit cousins in Detroit. "The bus is expensive, Ruby," I said. "If we save this money now, we can buy a better house in 5 years. The children are growing up, Clarence," she argued. "They need to know their family. They need to see the world beyond Birmingham." I won the argument, like I won almost all the others. We stayed home. The kids played in the dusty yard, and I went to the night shift on Friday to earn extra pay. Today, Marcus barely speaks to me. He lives in Atlanta and says I was always an absent man, even when I was present. Little Clarence moved to California, and I don't even know the color of my grandchildren's eyes. They remember a father who always said no. No to ice cream after school, no to new basketball shoes, no to the graduation trip. I thought I was teaching them discipline. I thought I was protecting their future, but I was only building a wall of dollar bills between us. My life was a ritual of deprivation. Every Saturday morning, I went to Mr. Miller's barbershop. It was the only luxury I allowed myself. But while the other men talked about politics, baseball, or the new Motown records playing on the radio, I sat in silence calculating compound interest in my head. On Friday nights, after Ruby went to sleep, I sat at this same table where I am now. I opened my passbooks and added everything up. I watched the numbers grow, $10,000, $50,000, $120,000. I felt a cold satisfaction. I felt safe. I looked at Ruby sleeping and thought, one day I'll give her everything. One day we'll travel to Europe. We'll buy that luxury car. We'll live like kings. But tomorrow is a silent thief, my young friend. It steals your time while you're busy making plans for it. In 1998, I retired. I was 65 years old and had a bank account that would have made my father cry in disbelief. I came home on my last day, took off my work uniform for the final time, and said to Ruby, "Now it's our turn. We're going to take the money and do everything we put off." Ruby looked at me with tired eyes. She was 62 at the time. She had spent decades taking care of a house with old furniture because I didn't want to spend money to replace it. She had worn the same coats for 10 winters so we could save. "I'm tired, Clarence," she said softly. "My legs hurt. I don't want to travel far anymore. I just wish I had had you here when I was young." That hit me like a punch to the stomach, but I ignored it. I thought she just needed time to get used to the idea of spending money. We started planning a trip to the Bahamas for the following year. I spent months researching the cheapest hotels, trying to save even on fun. On a Tuesday morning, in March of 1999, Ruby was in the kitchen making coffee. I was in the living room reading the newspaper. I heard the sound of something breaking. I ran to the kitchen and found her lying on the floor. The mug she was holding, an old chipped mug she had kept for 20 years because I said we didn't need a new set, was shattered beside her. It was a cerebral aneurysm, fast, devastating, irreversible. I remember the smell of the hospital, that smell of disinfectant and impending death. I remember sitting in that hard plastic chair in the waiting room for 16 hours. I had all the money in the world at that moment. I would have given every cent, every dollar I had sweated for at that cursed plant, just for the doctor to come out and tell me she would be okay. But money is useless when time runs out. When they finally let me in to say goodbye, Ruby was already gone. Her body was there, but the light had gone out. I held her hand. It was a hand that had worked as hard as mine, but with far more love. I looked at her nails, simple, without polish, because she thought the beauty salon was an unnecessary expense, only because I had made her believe that for decades. I cried like a child. I begged for forgiveness. I told her we had the money now, that we could go anywhere. But her silence was the most painful answer I have ever received in my life. The funeral was held at the same church where we met. There were many flowers, many condolences. I spent a lot of money on the coffin, the best money could buy, a cruel irony, isn't it? I saved during her life only to spend on her death. After everyone left, I came back to this house. In the first few months, I sat in the dark, because my mind still told me to save on the electricity bill. I ate cold, canned food, because I saw no point in using the stove for just one person. Time passed. 10 years. 20 years. I am 81 now. My health is failing. My heart is tired and I feel the system starting to shut down. I have a nurse who comes here twice a week. She is a young black woman with eyes full of dreams. The other day she saw me looking at my bank statement and smiled. "You must be very proud, Mr. Clarence," she said. "You worked hard and now you have all this security." I looked at her and wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "Throw it away, go out to dinner with your boyfriend, buy that dress you thought was too expensive. Take your mother to see the ocean." But I just gave a sad smile and said, "Yeah, my dear, I worked hard. I can't take this money with me. Marcus and little Clarence will inherit everything. They'll spend it on things I would have considered frivolous. They'll buy fast cars, modern houses, and take luxury trips, and honestly, I hope they do exactly that. I hope they burn every bill of this cursed money, so it doesn't haunt them the way it haunts me. I spend my days following an empty ritual. I wake up at 6 in the morning, a habit from the plant that never left me. I make my coffee. I clean the house that is already clean. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I go to the diner on the corner, Joe's Diner, and order the daily special. I sit at the same table, near the window. I watch young couples walking down the sidewalk. I see the way they look at each other, the way they share a milkshake or laugh at something silly. I feel a jealousy that eats at my bones. It's not jealousy of their youth. It's jealousy of their courage to be reckless, to live in the moment without the constant fear that the sky will fall tomorrow. My fear of becoming poor turned me into the poorest man I know. I have millions in assets, properties, and stocks, but I am a beggar of memories. I have no memories of family vacations. I have no photos of loud birthday parties in restaurants. I have no memory of Ruby's face lit by the sun on a foreign beach. All I have are receipts, thousands of receipts from a life I chose not to live. Sometimes I close my eyes and try to imagine what it would have been like if I had said yes that afternoon in 1975, if we had gone to Detroit, if I had taken a week off. I can almost smell the bus, hear the road noise, feel the weight of Marcus's head on my shoulder as he slept. I can see Ruby's smile when we arrived at our cousin's house, but then I open my eyes, and I am here, in this cold kitchen, with this paper in front of me. I spent my whole life believing that money was a shield against pain, but money is only an amplifier. It amplifies loneliness when you have no one to share it with. It amplifies regret when you realize you bought security but lost the adventure. If I could go back, I wouldn't work a single double shift. I wouldn't care about the balance in my savings book. I would buy Ruby flowers every Friday. I would take my children fishing, even if it meant not having money for a new roof that month. Those of us who grew up with little have this disease, you know? This need to accumulate to prove that we are somebody, to prove that the world can't crush us. But the world crushes us anyway. It crushes us with loss, with age, and with death. And when that moment comes, the size of your bank account does not lessen the weight of the earth on your coffin. I am an 81-year-old man who spent his entire life saving for the future, only to discover that the future is just a place where I am alone, surrounded by things I never used, and money I cannot spend. My story ends here, in Alabama, in a house worth a lot of money, but with no home inside it. Maybe this will serve someone who is listening now, someone who is not living because they are worried about their bank balance, someone who keeps saying later to the people they love. Don't wait. Later is a promise that life has no obligation to keep. Hold your wife. Play with your children. Spend that money you are saving so fearfully. Life happens in the spaces between your plans for security. I wish I had known this 60 years ago. I truly thought I had time. I really believed I had all the time in the world. But now my clock is stopping. And the only thing I truly own, the only thing that is really left, is this silence. If you listened this far, if my voice reached somewhere inside you, just tell me you understood. Tell me you will look out the window today, the way Ruby asked me to do so many times. I'll stay here a little longer. The sun is almost setting, and the house will soon be dark. I won't turn on the lights just yet. After all, there's still that old habit of saving, and now I truly have nothing left to illuminate. Good night to you, and please must live. Live for me and for my Ruby.